My name is Sean and I'm going to be reviewing the Hobbit animated movie. So, back in the 70s, they made a Hobbit movie. The Hobbit was really popular in the 50s and 60s, and about 3 years after J.R.R. Tolkien's death, Rankin-Bass acquired the rights to make a Hobbit movie, and they made a TV movie. About a year after this, Ralph Bakshi made a movie called The Lord of the Rings, which you've probably seen around. It's a animated movie that uses a lot of rotoscoping and stuff, like animating over live actors. And then about a year or so after that, I think 2 years after that, Rankin-Bass made another TV movie called Return of the King, which used a lot of elements from that final book in the Lord of the Rings trilogy. So there exists kind of a animated Lord of the Rings trilogy when you think about like The Hobbit, Lord of the Rings, which goes up to about the middle or so of the Two Towers, and Return of the King. So I mean, the Hobbit movie was released as a TV movie on NBC in November of 1977, and it's very 70s animation. I know a lot of people are trying to break away from Disney animation, which was cutesy and stuff. The artwork in this is pretty good, lots of cross-hatching and stuff. You might think that the animation here is kind of familiar. That's because the same animation house that did this also went on to do Thundercats. And for some reason, when I was a kid, I saw similarities in like the nose of characters in this and in Thundercats, which is kind of weird. The story of The Hobbit, I mean, if you've never read the book, which I don't know why you haven't, because it's pretty easy to read. It's not like Lord of the Rings or anything. Basically, Gandalf enlists the aid of Hobbit Bilbo to go on an adventure with these dwarves here. There they are. And the dwarves are trying to reclaim their homeland in the Misty Mountains, and this dragon, like back in the day, like you know, the dwarves were kings of those mountains, and you know had mines and stuff like that. And a dragon came and destroyed everything and took refuge in that mountain and sits on a huge pile of treasure, which used to be the dwarves. So that treasure is now the dragons, and these dwarves want to go and reclaim that, and Bilbo is along for the ride because he's going to be their burglar. Apparently, there are a lot of traits that hobbits have that can be used for burgling. You know, they're quiet, they're small, etc. And Gandalf figured, you know, Bilbo would be the right, you know, fit for this adventure, because he figured, you know, when Bilbo was a kid, he liked adventure, and now he's your typical hobbit. You know, he likes, you know, breakfast, he likes comfort, and he likes, you know, just his nice cozy hobbit hole. Of course, this leads to Bilbo eventually finding the ring that's the subject of Lord of the Rings. He meets Gollum and steals the ring from him. The ring does not figure into The Hobbit. When J.R.R. Tolkien wrote The Hobbit, he didn't even think of the ring when he was charged to make a sequel to The Hobbit, because The Hobbit was so hugely popular. He went back to that ring and realized, well, I could make a whole story about how this ring is more significant than just something that can turn you invisible. The story is really awesome. Like, I know J-Man, my friend J-Man, he loves The Hobbit because to him it incorporates every piece of fantasy in one neat pat story. It's the ultimate adventure, and he's right. I mean, a lot of adventures take from The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings too. Like, to me, Strider is Han Solo, but and that you know, the tavern where they meet him is basically the cantina in Star Wars. But here, I mean, The Hobbit, there's a lot of different elements that people have taken from The Hobbit, you know, for fantasy stories and stuff, and that might come off as really cliched when you watch a Hobbit movie or when you read the book, but those cliches started here. this movie itself, the animation is pretty cool. It's got a sort of a Japanese element to it. Like sometimes when you see like the way things explode and fire, it looks very anime, 1970s anime. And it's not your typical like American animation from the 70s. There is music in this thing. I mean, you know, you can't avoid that in 70s animation. The music isn't too bad. It's not as intrusive as the music in the other two movies, Lord of the Rings, the Ralph Bakshi one, and especially Return of the King. Like the music in that, I mean, isn't bad, but it cuts in when you just don't want it, right? And that happens to an extent here, but this movie's like about 77 minutes. I mean, you can sit through it. It's pretty easy. If you have kids and you want to introduce them to The Hobbit before the movie comes out, or if you're afraid of like bringing your kid to a 3-hour movie in a theater, this movie is very serviceable. There are some parts cut out, like Bjorn is my favorite character from The Hobbit, and he's cut right out of this thing. But beyond that, like you saw just now, they fought the trolls. That was really quick. The introduction of the dwarves is really, really quick, as opposed to what I've been hearing about this new movie. I haven't seen it yet, obviously, but I mean, I heard that the introduction of the dwarves in the Peter Jackson movie is like an hour or something. But I'll watch it and be the judge of that. But you know, they encounter spiders, and when Bilbo kills the spiders, don't really see blood or anything. The spiders kind of spin around, and then, you know, like you just figure they're dispatched. The dragon is pretty cool, and Gollum is really grotesque, but I mean, he's still cute in an animation sort of way. So here's Gollum. You're going to see Gollum coming up. His cave in this little island here is exactly the way I imagined it as a kid when I read The Hobbit, which is pretty uncanny. So here he is. He doesn't look a lot like the Peter Jackson version that you may be familiar with. It's funny because the Peter Jackson version looks a lot like the Ralph Bakshi version from his Lord of the Rings movie. But this is the Rankin-Bass, so he's trying to get a fish there, and here comes Bilbo. And, you know, they have the battle of the riddles. The riddles are all pretty much intact from the book, which I thought was pretty cool. I'm looking forward to see what it looks like in the Ralph Bakshi version. I'm shooting this like a week before I'm going to see it. But there's the ring, subject of Lord of the Rings, but as I said before, isn't the subject of this adventure. So here's Bilbo dreaming of better things, and of course he wakes up and finds a nightmare of spiders. The spiders here are cartoon spiders. I mean, they have 2 eyes and everything. They're not too grotesque. Here's Bite. So Bilbo has this sword. Well, I think that sword Bite was in Lord of the Rings too, and he's going to. I'm pretty sure it's called Bite, or is it Sting? Sorry, I think it's Sting. Sorry, Lord of the Rings fans, I'm a little rusty, but, yeah, he just dispatched a spider, and as you saw, like, you didn't see it die or anything, it's just spinning around, so you know it's effectively dispatched. And here's Smaug. He looks freaking awesome. There's a little thrush that helps out Bilbo. I know, like, a dragon singing on a pile of gold has been, used in a whole bunch of different other things. Like I know it was in Dragon's Lair. Here he is with his eyes looking around to see where Bilbo is. And eventually Smaug like leaves the cave thinking that Bilbo came from the little like river city, and gets his ass handed to him by this one guy who shoots an arrow right into a little chink in his armor. The Hobbit is really awesome. I mean, you know, it's a cool little story. This cartoon movie is a nice little bite-sized treat if you like Tolkien, or if you like The Hobbit or Lord of the Rings. It's a serviceable retelling of the story. It's cool to see these characters in animated form. If you have little small children, as I said, like this is a great little introduction to The Hobbit. And if you don't want to subject yourself to, taking your kid to a 3-hour movie, which only has like one half of the story, by all means, you should seek out this animated version. And if you are a fan, as I said, there's nothing wrong with watching this 77-minute version of The Hobbit. You can laugh at it, you can like it, you can hate it, whatever. But I mean, I think it's a pretty good little retelling of the story. To me, the book always did fit in one movie, so I'm interested to see what Peter Jackson does with the new movie coming out. So check it out.